Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kara. If you are new here, thanks so much for stopping by. If you are a returning subscriber, you already know I love you and I appreciate you for being a part of my tribe. All right, well, first things first, my hair. So I got a silk press yesterday. I have been trying to be more intentional about taking care of my hair in between protective styles. I have been like on a braiding binge, and for at least the last like six to 9 months I have been wearing braids nonstop. So my stylist yesterday, she was like, yeah, you need to take a break from braids. So I'm gonna try for the next like 3 or 4 weeks to just keep, you know, my natural curls out. I think I want to experiment with a perm rod set, and if I do that, then maybe I'll share how it comes out for the first time. I've never done it before, so I may share that later. But anyways, I could not believe it has been literally like 6 weeks since I posted a video on YouTube, and really just my activity level on really across all of my social media platforms has decreased over the past couple of weeks, just because life has been crazy between, you know, my car. If you follow me on Instagram, then you may be more familiar, but after we got back from Tulum, we realized that somebody had knocked the window, the driver's side window off the car, which at the time it was like, okay, fine, we'll get it fixed, less than a couple $100s, no biggie. Then literally like a week later, my sister gets hit on her way home from work, and now the bumper is hanging off. The guy who, you know, hit my sister, he has been ducking and dodging the insurance, and it's just been a hassle like figuring all of that out. So thank God, like, we're in a position where, you know, we're able to go ahead and just get the car fixed. We've had a rental car for like the past month, but best believe I will be coming for my coins from both the other driver and the insurance company, because crazy. But between that, between the state of the world, you know, all of the world conflict going on, and just continuing to be in a pandemic, it's just been a lot. And I felt like I was very lost, not necessarily from a content creation standpoint, because I like to create content based off of what's going on in my life and not the other way around. But when I didn't know what was going on in my life, or I just felt, yeah, just lost and just a little confused in terms of like where I'm going and where I'm headed, I realized that I needed to take a step back from creating content so that I could really focus my time and my energy on, you know, me, pouring into me and figuring out, you know, what it is that I want to do and where I want to go next, including, you know, where I want to take my platforms next. And so yeah, today's video, I am just going to kind of share some of the lessons that I have been learning and really leaning into during this time period, the messages that have, like, I feel like God has been sending me over and over and over again, that I have been really trying to reflect on and apply to my life. And if you feel like you are in a similar kind of funk, you know, first and foremost, like, it's important to give yourself grace. Like, we are just living through unprecedented times, and literally no one knows what they're doing. Like, we're all just out here trying to do our best and be our best, and you know, sometimes you have to just take a step back and give yourself a chance to reset and recharge, and then get right back at it. So if you're interested in that, then definitely stick around, because we're about to get into it. Okay, so first and foremost, I talked a little bit about feeling lost in terms of not really understanding where I was headed, just feeling very confused, very conflicted, noticing like an increase in anxiousness. And so I made it a priority this year to get back into therapy and kind of working through kind of what some of that underlying stuff is and maybe where some of that is coming from, and trying to get to the root of what I'm feeling. And it has been such a blessing. Like, just in the last 6 to 7 weeks that I've been working with my new therapist, I have noticed every week I feel so much lighter. I feel like I'm starting to be able to see things clearer, and just feeling more confident in myself and where I'm headed. Obviously, you know, I still definitely have work to do. One of the areas in my life that I'm specifically focused on is on boundaries. Boundaries is something that I never really considered myself to have a problem with, but it is something now that I have taken the time to kind of reflect and talk through kind of past relationships with my therapist, realizing it is an issue that has reoccurred. It may have looked a little bit different in various relationships, family relationships, friendships, parental relationships, all of that, but it's always been there. And so I think the first thing that I wanted to share is just on the type of boundaries. Learning that there are rigid boundaries, and if you have rigid boundaries, there's this graphic that I'm gonna insert that kind of really explains rigid boundaries. And it's like you are a brick wall. Like, you're not changing your mind about anything. You're very sure about, like, you know, what it is, what you're tolerating, what you're not tolerating, and there's no bending whatsoever. And then on the opposite end, you have somebody who has porous boundaries, or, you know, they kind of just go with the flow. They have little to no, like, regard of how the situation is going to affect them personally, but they're really invested in other people, other relationships, and it's kind of lopsided. And then you have healthy boundaries, which is like right in the middle, which is what I am working on getting towards. On the boundary scale, I feel like I'm more towards the porous side. So for me, someone with porous boundaries, I feel like, you know, it just leads to burnout. It can lead to resentment. It can just lead to feeling like you're always trying to please everybody else instead of really focusing on what makes the most sense for you and, you know, what you would like to do. I feel like sometimes, I was telling my mom this the other day, sometimes I forget that I'm an adult and that I literally can make whatever decision that I want to make. I can be selfish because I only have to worry about myself. I don't have kids, I'm not in a relationship, and so this is the time for me to focus on me and to say no if I want to, because, you know, it doesn't vibe with what the season that I'm in right now. So again, like, boundary setting is just something that I'm super hyper focused on, and I just want to get to a place where I can set boundaries without feeling guilty and without feeling the need to, like, overly explain, you know, why I am, you know, creating a boundary where I am. And another part to setting healthy boundaries is this idea of being able to communicate when people have violated your boundary and cut them off versus ghosting, because I can be a little bit of a ghoster. Like, if you do something that I don't like, first of all, if I ghost you, it's typically because I've already shared with you how that behavior makes me feel. And so if you continue to do it, then to me, you are making the choice to continue to violate my boundaries, and I'm just not going to give you any more energy. But there's a situation in particular that I'm thinking about where I don't know if I ever verbally, you know, communicated, like, you broke my boundary when XYZ, and because of that, I really do not want you to call me anymore. I kind of just stopped answering the phone, and I know that that is not a healthy response either. So I feel like, you know, God's doing some work on me. I feel like these are great things for me to learn now, you know, prior to getting into a serious relationship, because I want to make sure that my husband is able to, he knows my boundaries and he respects my boundaries, and I'm able to communicate those and transparently and openly and honestly, and not feel, you know, like, oh my God, like, how is he gonna feel about it type of thing. So okay, the second thing that I have been kind of really reflecting on is this theme of like everything within God's time. I feel like for me, like, the biggest thing that I want to be better about is asking God first and then giving him a chance to respond, versus just doing things and trying to make things be exactly how I want them, when I want them, and making people do exactly what I want them to do when I want them to do them. You know, realizing that God has all of those things under control, and I need to trust him and not try to be so controlling over them, and to just trust that in the right season, you know, things will happen when they're supposed to happen, exactly the way they're supposed to happen, not a second sooner, not a second later. And in Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1, the scripture reads, "There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens." And so when I am feeling super anxious, when I am feeling like I am maybe rushing seasons, rushing into a new season, or even rushing out of a season, trying to get to the next one, even though God is still preparing me, you know, realizing, just reflecting on that scripture and just being like, God's got it, sis, you know, like, when it's supposed to happen, it will, and really like leaning into that. So for all of my people out there who, you know, like to ask God second, or, you know, they say like, tell God your plans and then like he laughs. This is like all in that theme, right? Like really just letting God do what he do, period. All right, so number 3. Fear is a silent killer. And this kind of builds on the previous lesson that I've been learning in terms of trusting God and trusting his timing, because a lot of wanting to control situations comes from a place of fear, fear of the unknown, and fear of just not wanting to fail, not wanting things to go opposite of what you are planning for them, and just relinquishing that. It is something that could really keep you trapped. It could keep you from accomplishing the things that God has for you in your purpose. It can just keep you paralyzed. Fear can really keep you from experiencing life, you know, from loving others, and even from a good, healthy relationship with God, because you are just in the constant state of what if. That God does not want us to live in fear, to react in fear. He doesn't want that for us. All of those stories in the Bible about people stepping out on faith, about people trusting God and doing what he says to do, even when it looked absolutely crazy to other people. For example, when Noah was building the ark, first of all, it was just this year that I learned that it took over 100 years for that ark to be built. That is crazy. And if you can just imagine like having to have faith in God for 100 years, that this storm that has never happened before is coming, and people are looking at you crazy, like, what are you doing? And like he just had to continue to go, even if when it didn't make sense to other people. He continued to be obedient to God. And that is my challenge for you and for myself, to do the things that God is calling you to do. Be obedient. And even if it doesn't make sense to other people, even if other people are doing the exact opposite of what God told you to do, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? That's what God told you to do. He could have told him to do something completely different. Stepping into faith, moving past fear, is going to be a very big theme that I am working on this year, and I'm really excited for what's to come on this particularly. Okay, number 4, this idea of motion versus action. So I was watching Melody Elisa's YouTube video. She's a faith-based content creator on YouTube. Highly recommend you give her a follow, subscribe to her channel. I love her content so much. But she recently was talking about, she's reading Atomic Habits by James Clear, which if you have not read that book, I highly recommend it. It's like, it breaks down and makes it approachable how you can build healthy, sustainable habits over time, and also like how you can break habits that are no longer serving you. So I definitely recommend that book. But specifically, she talked about the chapter in the book where he was talking about motion versus action, and this idea that motion is when you're just busy doing something but it's not necessarily leading to a result, whereas action is the type of behavior that produces a result. So for example, let's talk about like health and fitness. I feel like it's a relatable example that makes sense for everybody. So if you have a goal of losing 20 pounds and you go to the gym and you talk to the trainer and you continue to do that, that's motion, right? Like, sure, it's helping you get to your goal, but at the end of the day, the only thing that's going to help you make progress is the action part, and that is actually going to the gym and doing a workout. And so realizing that I can definitely be a planner. I am somebody who just plans, and probably to my detriment, just over planning, and you can get into this analysis paralysis where you're always thinking of a better way to do something, and if you try something and you fail immediately, you start reworking the plan when in reality you just haven't given your plan enough time to work, which leads into my last point about consistency. But let me share really quickly what James Clear said about why so many of us live in this state of motion versus action. He said, if motion doesn't lead to results, why do we do it? Sometimes we do it because we actually need to plan or learn more, but more often than not, we do it because motion allows us to feel like we're making progress without running the risk of failure. And so there it is, that theme of not wanting to fail, that fear that keeps us in this comfortable state of always planning, always, getting ready. And this is the year we have to move past that. You are ready with exactly what you have, with exactly what you know, and whatever you don't know, you will learn as you go. So here is a challenge for you to do something. Make an action plan for this next week. Figure out what you're gonna do and actually just do it. Okay, and then number 5, the last thing that I have really been leaning into over the last few weeks, and honestly, consistency is my word of the year. So it is something that I'm super hyper focused on this year and trying to be intentional about. But consistency is something that I feel like a lot of us struggle with, especially in today's age. And I'm saying a lot of us, including me, where you see people, it seems like people blow up and they get all of this success overnight, and we don't get to see, all of the days, all of the nights, all of the hours, all the blood, all the sweat, all the tears that go into getting to this season that they're at in their life. And so I think we miss all of that, and so we feel like when that doesn't happen for us, we stop because we feel like we failed, and we feel like we're doing something wrong. But I'm here to tell you, you're probably not doing anything wrong. You're just not being consistent. And again, like, I'm preaching to the choir. I'm talking to myself. Like, these are conversations that I have with myself, because we all know what we need to do. It's just a matter of showing up and doing it consistently over a period of time. So as I shared, consistency is my word of the year. On my phone, I have the consistency on my vision board. And if you can see, I'll actually just pop up a picture on the screen because you can't see it, but that is my word of the year. And the definition of consistency is The achievement of a level of performance that does not vary greatly in quality over time. I feel like a lot of us are intense but not consistent, and intensity is like these short bursts of energy or creative moments where you kind of, for a few weeks, you're going super hard and you're getting all this stuff done, and then you're off for a couple weeks, and then for a couple weeks you're like really intense and you're really about it and you're really busy, and then you're off for a couple weeks. Consistency is kind of stretching that out over time. Consistency is, how do I show up a little bit over time versus a lot of it sporadically, if that makes sense. So for me, like, I could definitely be a very black or white person, all or nothing, where, you know, if I feel like I'm not following my plan 100% correctly, I'm gonna scrap the plan and I'm gonna start over. But the lesson here that I'm learning is that you have to get consistent before you can get good. A big focus for me this year is on creating a healthy and sustainable lifestyle, you know, which requires consistently feeding a little bit to all the parts of me, which allows me to enjoy myself while still working towards the goals that I have. So my focus is not on being perfect, but on majority of the time sticking to the habits, the routines, and the rituals that I have for myself so that I can progress and accomplish the goals that I have set. So those are just a few of the lessons that I have really been leaning into and or reflecting on over the past few weeks, and I will continue to do so throughout the course of the year. I feel like they are all things that, you know, I want to continue to work on and remind myself of, and just so I can continue to be the best version of myself. So that is the end of this video. I really just wanted to catch you guys up and share, you know, what I have been learning over the past few weeks and why I have been gone, but I am feeling more like myself these days, so I will definitely be posting more content over the next few weeks, kind of getting back into the swing of things. Someone actually left a comment on one of my videos. If I can find it, I'll like put a little screenshot here, but he said, you know, really loving your content, something about 50 videos this year. So that's my goal. My goal is to upload 50 YouTube videos by the end of 2022. And right now, I think I'm at 4. I'm at 4. But we are getting ready to start second quarter, and like I said, I'm feeling pretty good about it. I have so many ideas on content that I want to create, just continuing to share, you know, things that I'm learning as I'm going on this growth journey, and sharing as I'm going along versus feeling like I have to be completely on the other side to share what I'm learning. I think that's the biggest thing that you can expect from my platform, is just more kind of real life talks, real life sharing, kind of where I am, what I'm learning, what I'm struggling with. I feel like, you know, having my social media platforms over the past almost 2 years in September, it's been amazing to like see my growth starting out in September of 2020 into now. I feel like when I first started, I was so focused on like being perfect, and now I'm just like, you know, like, you're gonna get what you're gonna get. You know, I feel like it takes a lot of pressure off of, you know, feeling like every time I turn the camera on, I have to be beat to the gods. Now, I am beat to the gods today because I got my hair done and I got my lashes done yesterday, and that's just, you know, the energy that I woke up with this morning. Like, I'm going to wake up, I'm gonna put some makeup on, and I'm gonna record this YouTube video. But, you know, there are gonna be some videos where I might have my bonnet on, child. I don't know. But just feeling, you know, like I can use this space, my platform, as my own personal growth diary. you know, where I can learn to embrace who I am authentically and really discovering who Karalaray is authentically, period. Like, that is the journey that I'm on right now. I'm going to be 29 in 6 months, and this is really, I'm entering a me era, you know. I can keep talking and talking and talking. I feel like this video is already going to be long, so maybe I'll do a different video on that. But just know that you can expect more just real life content. If you do have questions, if there are topics that you want me to talk about, things that you're curious about, definitely let me know in the comments. You can send me a note on Instagram, DM me, follow me on TikTok. One final thing I want to say about social media, because I just ran off a list of all of my social media platforms, but for 2022, my top 2 focus areas are going to be on YouTube and TikTok. Now, that does not mean that I will not be posting on Instagram. I still will post on Instagram, but my focus areas for this year are going to be those 2 platforms, just because I feel like Instagram, it's giving too much. Like, I just having to do like reels and go live and post on stories and put together guidebooks and do carousels, and you know, just it's a lot of, I feel like, just chasing the algorithm and trying to keep the algorithm happy. And right now I'm just not able to do that. So instead, I'm going to focus on TikTok and YouTube. So again, if you're not following me on either, if you're not following me on TikTok, follow me there. If you're not subscribed to my channel, make sure that you subscribe and get ready, because I'm really excited for the rest of this year. I feel like I have said that in a previous video, but I am really excited. I'm feeling a lot more clear in my head, and just like I can really do this the way that I want to do it. And I'm excited to see where I'm at, you know, at the end of the year. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap up my video here. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you all in the next video.